Hi everybody, Wes here, also known as Windwalker, EFT practitioner. Today, with regard to EFT, what I want to do is talk to you about and help you to work through one of those things that instills or installs a negative belief in us, and that is when someone in our life, usually an authority figure, says something to us about ourselves that we don't have as a young person the mental or emotional equipment to recognize as false. And so we take it on and we start to believe it about ourselves. And if it's bad enough, it can hold us back in some pretty important ways. I don't know that all of us have those. I know I do, I did. I heard those phrases a lot, and I have worked with myself using EFT to help myself recognize that they're untrue. And so the idea today is just to work through one of those phrases. I'm going to use an example, which is not true in my life, and help you to get rid of whatever effect that might have on you. And one of the things that EFT requires at the beginning for sure is courage. And that courage in this particular case is about being able to say that phrase as though it were true. Because sometimes if we have a phrase that is uncomfortable for us and we've been fighting against it all of our lives, we want to just try and roll over it. And unfortunately that in the long term doesn't really work. So I'm going to take a phrase such as "you'll never amount to anything." If you have an authority figure in your life who says that to you often enough, you start to take it on. "I'll never amount to anything." And you know it's not true on some level of yourself, but at the same time it drags you down because somebody who is important in your life and has influence, had influence at least, said that to you often enough that you figured it must be true. So here we go. This one has to start with a setup. So we start with a saying, with a phrase, "even though," and then you don't say "my mother said" or "my father said." You might do that, but in general what I encourage people to do is say the phrase as though it were true. That's where the courage comes in. You have to be able to say it as though it were true. So it would go like this for the setup on the karate chop point. "Even though I'll never amount to anything, I deeply and completely accept myself just the way I am, and I don't blame or judge myself for believing that. Even though I'll never amount to anything, I deeply and completely accept myself with no judgment and no blame. Even though I will never amount to anything, I deeply and completely accept myself with no judgment and no blame." And then the tapping. "I'll never amount to anything. I'll 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 never amount to anything." And I would encourage you to tap at least 3 cycles, but you can do that on your own or you can do it while you're watching this video. What can happen is that other stuff can come up. And I would encourage you to stay with that one phrase unless something is really powerful, then shift over to the other belief or whatever it is. It might be a memory, and it could be, "I'll never amount to anything, and my dad said that to me. My dad told me I'll never amount to anything. I'll never amount to anything. And it's true. I'm not accomplishing anything in my life. I'll never amount to anything. I'll never amount to anything. I'll never amount to anything. My dad told me I'll never amount to anything. I will never amount to anything." And so you can build in other things as you go on. But what I would encourage you to do is keep coming back to that one phrase. And one of the biggest reasons for doing that is so that you can measure progress. Because if you just keep going from one thing to another, you might find that you lose track of the original one, and when you come back to it, it hasn't changed a lot. Alternatively, you might discover that as you're tapping, you can feel the release happening. So allow yourself to experience whatever might work for you, and have courage, have confidence with doing that. Pick any phrase you want, something that somebody said to you. It can be something that has to do with sex or religion or value or how you look. Nobody will ever love you. That sort of thing. Have courage and tap. It works. And I hope that you experience wonderful healing, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.